Championship Boxing this Saturday night at First Direct Arena here in Leeds, England. It is all being brought to you by Frank Warren on behalf of Queensberry Promotions, along with their great sponsors, 32 Red and Foot Asylum. Well, a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, you can still purchase tickets at the firstdirectarena.com, and if you can't join us live, you can watch on BT Sport and in the United States on ESPN Plus beginning at 8 p.m. local time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our highly anticipated main event, it is scheduled for 12 rounds, and it will be for the IBF Featherweight Championship of the World. Let's first welcome this afternoon the challenger. He hails from Sheffield. He is undefeated with 26 wins, 15 come by way of knockout. He is the #1 ranked featherweight contender in the world by the IBF. Let's welcome Kid Galahad. And he is joined by his trainer, Dominic Ingle.
Well done, I like you.
And now let's welcome the defending champion from right here in Leeds. He is undefeated with 28 wins, 6 come by way of knockout. Let's welcome the reigning and defending IBF Featherweight Champion of the World, Josh the Leeds Warrior Warrington. And he is joined by his trainer, Sean O'Hagan. Let's also welcome Francis Warren.
Hey, go on.
And the host of today's press conference, Mr. John Rowling.
Go on, Johnny.
Thank you very much, Thomas. And I think it's fair to say that the last 2 fights of Josh in 2018 have to go down as 2 of the finest fights, if not the finest fights, seen in British rings in that year, and 2 absolutely wonderful performances. They were great occasions at Elland Road and then in Manchester at the Manchester Arena, and I think that every indication is that this fight on Saturday night is going to be similarly dramatic. Great opportunity for Barry, for Kid Galahad, a life-changing opportunity, and Josh clearly in no mood to surrender his title. Well, let's hear from Francis first about this contest coming up, and it's a high bar which has been set from those 2 previous fights involving Josh.
It certainly is, and when you mentioned the fights against Lee Selby and Carl Frampton, in fact the fight against Lee Selby was voted the IBF Fight of the Year for last year, and I would fully expect the next convention, because it falls within the 2019 year, the Carl Frampton one to be named Fight of the Year, and rightly so. And I think Saturday's fight against Kid Galahad will be another cracker. Josh isn't inborn in fights. If you go through fights against Kiko Martinez and Dennis Salen, they were very, very exciting fights, and it's because of this guy here. He brings it. It's non-stop pressure. And with the best fans in the world behind him, it makes it a very, very intimidating place to come, and fully expect it to be another cracker on Saturday.
Every fight that we've done up here with Josh, the atmosphere has always been absolutely sensational. I mean, that night at Elland Road with the Kaiser Chiefs, and then fighting for the city, and it was a fight that was won. It was some atmosphere.
It was unbelievable, and one of my most exciting and favourite nights in boxing. I've been working in this industry for 16, 17 years now, and following that, the fight against Carl as well. The atmosphere there was terrific. But that night at Elland Road will definitely go down as one of the special ones in British boxing history.
There are similarities. We'll hear from the guys very soon, but there are similarities looking back. You've been doing it 17 years. I've been doing it a wee bit longer, and you look at the career of Ricky Hatton when he was coming through. He was sort of the man of Manchester, and it's a similar popularity that Josh has.
It is, and people say that Ricky united a city, but the whole of Leeds is already united and all, fully behind Josh. And the noise that the guys make, especially in that arena, it's almost more intimidating than I think Ellen Road might be. You just got to bring your brolly in at the arena.
Well, we'll hear from the two fighters in a moment or two, but let's hear from the trainers first of all, which is always good knockabout stuff. We'll see how this one goes. And first of all, from Dominic Ingle. You've had guys who've gone on to win world titles in the past, so you know all about what Barry's going to be facing when he gets into that arena on Saturday night. How intimidating is that going to be, and how much of a factor is that going to be?
It's not really a factor when you've been in this position before. I've been involved in maybe 60 or 70 world title fights. Josh and his dad's been in about 2 or 3. So it's down to experience. But, what you've done in the past is not going to be a reflection of what's going to happen in the future. And I think a good example of that is Anthony Joshua a couple of weekends ago. It doesn't matter whether Josh Warrington had a great fight against Cole Frampton or a great fight against Lee Selby. It's got no matter to how Kid Galahad's going to fight him, because he's totally different fighters to those two guys. So, if he can take comfort from that, we'll take comfort from it. But Kid Galahad is a different proposition to Cole Frampton, different proposition to Lee Selby. Everybody backed those two fighters against Josh because Lee Selby was the champion, so you're going to back that guy. And when he came up against Cole Frampton, even though Josh was the champion, everybody considered that Cole Frampton was a better fighter. But Josh Warrington came through, and that's where we are now. Everybody thinks Josh Warrington's going to win this fight because he's the champion and the better fighter. But he's been in two positions himself in 2 fights where he was in the same position as Kid Galahad, and look what happened. And that's what's going to happen on Saturday night. He's coming up against a prospect, an unbeaten prospect. He's not coming up against guys who've been beat like Cole Frampton and Lee Selby. He's coming up with somebody with the same kind of hunger and determination as him. Josh Warrington, Lee Selby, Cole Frampton, they train for fights. They train for camps for fights. They consider themselves full-time professionals. Kid Galahad is a full-time professional, Monday to Friday, 52 days of the week. And when you're fighting guys like Lee Selby and Cole Frampton who train, then they party, they have time out, then they train again and fight, that's all right when you're in that environment. But when you come up against somebody who's consistently training day in, day out, you're up against a different type of fighter. And that's what Josh Warrington's going to get on Saturday night.
Tell us a little bit about how Barry's been in training, about how ready he is, because you talk about his dedication, but how's his levels now compared with previous fights?
Look, John, nothing really changes, because the only thing what changes when Barry trains for a fight is he does more open sparring and he eats less food, because he's permanently in a camp. It's his job. He's a full-time professional. So little things change. He doesn't need to make big changes because he's consistently in the gym. He doesn't need to come in and go steady. He's a 9 till 5. He's a 5 days a week trainer. Comes in, does his job, and he's in bed for 8 o'clock every night. He's up at 5 o'clock every morning doing his stuff. He wants what all the other champions have had. That's determination. Josh Warrington's already got that. He's had 2 big fights. He's probably made, between £500,000 and £750,000 in those 2 fights. What he should have done. And, for him, that might be his limit. That's all he might be happy, pay for his house. But Kid Galahad's, got that hunger. He's come from, the poor streets of Sheffield, finding his way through. And it's not about the money. It's about winning the fights, time after time, making the fights, making the money. He's not going to be happy until, he's had maybe 7 or 8 defences of this title. So he's got the hunger. Josh Warrington hasn't got the same hunger that he had previously, to fight in, when he boxed Frampton and Selby. So yeah, he's the champion now. He's not at the bottom of the hill looking up. He's on the top of the hill looking down at everybody trying to take it off him.
Well, we'll hear a bit more from Dominic, I'm sure, before this is finished. But let's cross to the other end of the table now and say hi to Sean O'Hagan, who's training Josh, of course, as ever. Is the hunger there?
Well, I was all right until it started going on about hunger, and I am hungry. I've had milk since 7 o'clock this morning.
John, can we get that in English? I can't hear a word he's saying. What did he say?
I'm not sure. What was that, Dom? Sorry.
Sound technician to sort sound out. I can't hear what he's saying. What he's saying, Sean?
I can't understand you, kid. I'm sorry. Anyway,
oh, he's hungry. Okay.
I think that we put 20 years of work in he's making it sound like we're going to roll over on Saturday and give it all up. He knows that's not the case, doesn't he? The fact that he's bought himself an house, that don't mean you're going to go in there and think you're entitled to it. You know, it just don't work like that, and Dominic knows that. We're not going to turn up there and just think it's our God-given right. We work for everything. Keeps going on about him never having nothing, you know. I mean, I don't remember us having a corner shop when we were kids. So I think he were off to a good start there, to be fair. We've always fought for everything and worked hard for everything. And I can assure you we're not about to give that up on Saturday night.
Is there any danger of complacency, though, having had those two amazing fights last year, when in both of them you were, so far as the bookies were concerned, underdogs?
Well, everybody goes on about underdogs, who's favourite, who's not favourite. I don't think that comes into it. I think you turn up on night and you do what you do. And whatever will be, will be. But I can assure you that there's been no complacency whatsoever in this camp. We haven't done anything less than we've done for every other fight. Everyone goes on about Selby and Frampton, but you've got to bear in mind, we've been in with fighters, good quality fighters, long before that. And that's still the case. There's no complacency whatsoever.
So how highly do you rate Barry?
He's a good fighter. He's there on merit, isn't he? He's there on merit. He's mandatory. So we prepare for Barry like we prepare for everybody else. Only a little bit more, because we do want to beat him a little bit more than we beat everybody else.
And how about being back in Leeds in front of these guys, in front of your Leeds public?
Well, they like a good, they like a night out, don't they?
So I've heard.
They've been saving the giants for the last few weeks, haven't they? So there'll be plenty of beer flying about, I would imagine, when we come out. And plenty more flying about when we still walk away with that belt on Saturday night.
Your trainer, Barry, has spoken confidently about you. 3 days away from the fight now. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. You know, training's gone well. All the talking's done. So, you know, a few more sleeps and that belt's coming back to Sheffield.
What makes you so confident?
I just know, you know, it's destiny. Destiny, this, been dreaming about this all my life, and I've always known, you know, I'm going to fight Josh as a professional. Just can't wait now.
I was reading on one of the social media sites about a T-shirt which Brendan gave you.
Yeah.
Which Naz had when he beat, was it Naz had it when he beat Tom Johnson?
Yeah, Boom Boom Johnson. That's the last thing he actually gave me, was a T-shirt, and it was for the IBF World title. And, you know, imagine that. What's the coincidence of that happening?
So you see it as some sort of destiny?
It's destiny. It's, you know, it's destiny.
You were very close to Brendan, weren't you?
Yeah, I was very close to Brendan. You know, I spent most of my time, spent most of my life with Brendan, and, you know, if it weren't for him, probably be locked up or dead.
You really think that?
Yeah, 100%.
So if you were to win on Saturday, I guess he'd or when, as you say.
When I do win, he'll be there watching me.
I guess, yeah, I was going to say, that must be
100%,
something that's going to
yeah.
be very close to you.
Yeah, 100%. You know, when that title's around my waist on Saturday night, you know, he'll be smiling from above.
What do you fear most about Josh?
I don't really fear much about Josh. You know, he's a good fighter. I believe I've sparred, you know, I know sparring's sparring, but I believe I've sparred better kids than Josh Warrington in the past. You know, I sparred Linares, I sparred Ricky Burns when he was lightweight champion, Oscar Valdez, you know, Kell Brook, and obviously the list goes on, but, you know, they keep on going about, you know, him, you know, fighting Josh, Lee Selby and Carl Frampton and this and that. I've sparred better kids than he's boxed.
Difference between sparring and fighting, though, isn't there?
But the thing is, you know, sparring's actually harder than a fight. You know, in my opinion anyway. I've learnt more in sparring than I have in a fight.
Josh, you're hearing what Barry's got to say and about how it's his destiny and he will win it on Saturday night. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. Yeah, I'm here. I'm awake. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for the turnout. Always a pleasure to see so many faces turn out. Open workouts, press conferences, the support has been fantastic. as always, the messages on social media. Can't do without you guys, so a massive thank you to yourselves out there, those who've turned up today. We're here, 3 days away. Can't wait to go. End of a long camp, and hungry, very hungry, John. Cannot wait for Saturday. It's been a busy few weeks, you know, listening to Barry and his team. But let's get one thing clear: the hunger has not died one little bit. Just because my lifestyle's changed over the last year or so does not mean that I'm, like my dad said, I'm about to just roll over and hand my title away. That's my title by merit. I won that hard, I won that fair and square, and no one's coming to Leeds and taking it off me. I've set myself little goals now on unifying the division, and I ain't looking at Barry as someone who's getting under my skin anymore, not taking anything he says personal. I'm just looking at him as an opponent, got to get through him, and then it's onto the stateside, onto the big other world title fights. But for Dom to say that I've lost my hunger and it's not there, he didn't know naught about me. It's stupid for him to assume that the hunger's not there, the desire's not there, the will to win's not there. Because just in this camp, like every other camp, I give him my all and I train hard 100%. And for Barry to say that sparring's harder than a fight, well, it's a lot of bollocks. Because in sparring, you've got 8 guards on, you've got big 16-ounce gloves on. When you come to fight night, you're dealing with all kinds of different pressures, emotions. You've got to do it under lights, there's no stopping, and you've got them little 8-ounce gloves on. And the punches hurt a little bit more when there's less padding round the hand, should I say. So he keep on talking about his destiny. He sounds like he's echoing a few things what I said in press conferences with Lee Selby, but it's not Barry's time. It's not Barry's time. He'll have trained hard and he'll believe it, but it's not his time. June 15th, title will be staying here.
Where do you think you're perhaps most superior to Barry? Where do you feel that, okay, you've got the belt, so you've got the champion's confidence, but actually when it comes down to fighting, where do you think you're better?
A lot of attributes. I think I'll be faster, he'll underrate my movements. It's a lot of things where they talk about, I think they downplay my attributes. My strength, my punch power, my boxing ability. Like I say, talk about my previous wins. Experience shows that I've stepped up. Experience shows that I've delivered on the night against all the different styles, John. Tall, small, big, skinny, any kind of style when it comes to night, I can adapt and get the win. And I've done it in the big occasions many a times. This is all new territory for Barry, and he's got a lot of factors to deal with on the night. So we'll see if he's at this level. I just don't believe it's his time just yet.
Where do you think that you're superior? Where do you think you're the better man?
I just believe I'm better than Josh in every department. You know.
Do you think you hit harder? Do you think you've got a bigger fighting heart?
Well, record suggests I do hit harder than him. So, you know, obviously he can still hit, but you know he's only got 6 KOs, hasn't he? And he's definitely got heart. You know, but I believe I've got a bigger heart than him. So, you know, Saturday night, when we get in there, we'll see.
What makes you say you've got a bigger heart than him? Because he's kind of
I just know, you know, I just know.
And what about getting out in front of that Leeds crowd? Because that noise is going to hit you.
Listen, it doesn't matter, does it? You know, when you're in there, you've got tunnel vision and you know, blinkers are on and you focus on the task in hand.
Dom, you've heard what Josh has had to say and some of what Sean's had to say. What's your observations on that?
Well, you know, Josh is saying it's not Barry's time, but, you know, nobody knows when it's their time. You know, does Josh know when his time's up? No, he doesn't. Nobody knows when the time's up and nobody knows when they're going to get the time. And talking about experience and looking over his box, if you look at Josh's record and Barry's record, Barry's got more stoppages, but that doesn't mean anything. You know, Josh might have just been getting the rounds in. We don't take that as anything. But if you look through their records, Barry actually stepped up, you know, sooner than Josh did. You know, Barry boxed Jazza Dickens, who was a very, very good amateur. And I can always remember, and I think Steve Wood's here today, and he was so confident that Jazza Dickens was going to beat Barry. We've known Steve a long time, and he says, we've got a kid in the gym, and Jazza Dickens punches holes in him, and he was referring to Josh Warrington. So what Barry did to Jazza Dickens then, they were both unbeaten prospects. I think Barry was the underdog in that fight, and Barry flattened him. Barry stepped up a lot earlier than Josh.
While they were on drugs.
And it's like, you look back at his fights, Josh's fights, he's beat people on points, he has got a good, good machine, a good engine. But he's never really, even though Lee Selby was severely depleted in that fight, he still couldn't stop him, he still got through the fight. Now, like I said before, Barry's coming in here as a prospect, unbeaten, he's got determination, trains well, lives the life. You could see Lee Selby deteriorate in 2 fights before that. He used to come to our gym and train and box and spar. Very good boxer. But the Lee Selby that Josh Warrington beat wasn't the Lee Selby who won the world title. He wasn't at the top of his game. But that's how boxing is. When you get into that ring, it doesn't matter whether you're at the top or the bottom or you're ready or you're not. You've got to fight. And luckily for Josh, in both those fights, he came up against, an 80% Frampton and maybe an 80% Lee Selby, but he's coming up with a 90+ Kid Galahad, and that's the challenge. Josh is coming in at the best every time. He's coming at his best position, so he's going to beat them guys because he's on his way up and they're on the way down. But Kid Galahad's on his way up. He's never been beat. 2 fights less than Josh Warrington. He's been in with some good kids. He's been away from home. And Josh talking about sparring, well, if Josh is having harder fights than sparring, then he's obviously just sparring kids who are easy, because you learn from sparring. You go around, that's where you get your education, that's where you get your experience. You don't stop in sparring, you do your rounds, you don't stop halfway through when it gets hard or whatever. It's the same. You might have got bigger gloves on, you might have got head protection. But when you're in that ring, you look at the sparring sessions in Floyd Mayweather's gym, it's like a war. We've been to Vegas, we've been to America, he sparred all the top kids. And when you go to Freddie Roach's gym, that's another punch-up, Oscar Valdez. Lee Selby was out there sparring Valdez, and it was a war. Kid Galahad went in and boxed his ears off. So you can compare what you like. He's had the experience to deal with any style. Josh Warrington hasn't had the experience to deal with the style of Kid Galahad. That's the top and bottom of it. So, it's going to be easy enough. I don't know who that kid is talking. Can't hear a word he's saying. You might as well just keep quiet. Can't hear a thing, just a muffle. Listen and learn. Listen and learn. Because on Saturday night, Kid Galahad's going to take that belt. Josh has had his time. Good, 2 fights, made his money. We'll see.
Sean, you're champing at the bit to get in. You were hanging on every word there. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know. Can you repeat that, Dom? I didn't quite catch it. To be honest, it's here now, and it's Saturday night. Whatever will be, will be. But all we can do now is repeat what we've said. We can go over everything that we've kind of previously discussed. Saturday night, he's having it. He can't be in there talking for him. He keeps yamping on about fucking Nazim. Nazim won't be there fighting for him. T-shirts, nothing. It's sentimental, it's lovely. That don't make you fight any better. And on Saturday night, he's got to fight, and that's it. And all this about him stepping up. He stepped up after he got tested positive, didn't he, for gear or whatever.
No, you're wrong. No, I didn't know.
Am I wrong?
No, you're wrong.
Oh, sorry.
Jazza Dickens, 2 years after that, so yeah.
Was it 2 years after?
Yeah, about 2 years after, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Just cover his glass up, make sure nobody
No,
slips
that's
on
it.
him.
It makes a difference, does it?
It'll be all right.
The one thing, Sean, what I didn't realise, when Josh boxed Dennis Ceylon, who actually failed the test, you didn't hear one thing, did you? Because he knew you were going to beat him. Didn't he? That's the thing. You see, now he's going to get beat, he's trying to clutch onto everything. Clutch on all you want. Clutch all you want. We've worked out Josh Warrington. It's going to be a great night, like you say. It's not going to be me and you in ring, it's going to be them two. You're back in your lad and I'm back in mine. It's going to be good. All good.
He'll be all right.
We'll know.
Listen, he'll get his fuel.
So, the thing is, he'll get his few quid.
That's
He's getting a good payday. Probably getting paid more than Josh.
He's getting a few quid and maybe a girlfriend that he's never had. And he'll be going home a happy man because he can spend his few quid on his bird.
And he'll be getting the belt.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so, Dom.
Okay, guys, let's... Before we get a few questions from the floor, and maybe from one or two of the people who've given their day up to come down here, final words from the two guys. Start with the champion. Let's start with Josh.
I'll let Barry have the honour. Go on, Barry. You go first.
Go on, Barry.
Go on, Barry.
Go on, give it a shout.
No, we'll let Josh go with it. You offered it, Josh. Go on, Josh. Tell us what you're going to do. Go on, off you go.
I hope you're not this polite on Saturday.
Come on, Josh, tell us.
Dom's a used car salesman, isn't he? Fucking hell. He could have an 04 fucking Fiesta and sell it as a Lamborghini, man. Fuck me. He just... where do you think it up, Dom? I've got to take me off.
Don't be worried. You haven't got to worry about me, Josh. You've got to worry about Barry, not me.
Yeah, well,
I'm least of your worries.
Well, I just...
Least of
feel
your
like,
worries.
one thing what is going to let Barry down is his mentality. Because over the last 12 weeks in the initial build-up, Barry was very brave at the first press conference when Dom was by his side, and then we did the head-to-head down at Ellen Road, and he didn't say too much. Then he come away and he was on social media getting all brave again. Then last week or week before we were down in London, and it was just I went down on my own. He took Dom with him, but Dom wasn't allowed in interview rooms and stuff, and there was a different mentality from Barry. So when it comes to the fight on Saturday, when we're in the ring and it's just me and him and Dom's not there for him and we're not talking and we're using these, it'll be a fucking different story, I'm telling you that.
Did you ever see
the difference? That is why.
John, can I just interject there, John? When we went to the BT studios last week, did you do the interview?
I did.
Right. Was I not allowed? Could I have come in? Yeah, I could. He's saying I weren't allowed in. I could have come in anytime I wanted. Now, just one thing, Josh. Cast your mind back a few years back when Ricky Hatton was at the top of his game and he boxed Stephen Smith. And when he was beating Stephen Smith, his dad jumped in. His dad jumped in the ring and tried to have a go with Ricky. Well, just be careful, because, you know, I might get that carried away. I might do the same. You know, if Barry's getting in that position, but it's not going to happen. You're jumping. All right? Yeah?
Fucking hell, Dom, have a word. Have a word with yourself.
I've just had the death stare off Josh, and I'm actually shaking in my boots. I've had the death stare. He's like, give me that one. The death stare.
Fucking top shite.
Fucking idiot.
Fuck me. Hey.
Barry.
Is that one of his 65 tickets he sold up there? Is that one of his 65 tickets? Is that fancied round Sheffield? They're coming in the droves. They've got a Godson's coach coming, 65-seater.
And, you know, there's going to be a new champion in South Yorkshire, and it's going to be me.
You really, really believe
100%.
that? Well, it's going to be interesting, and Francis, those who have been had their appetite whetted by what they've heard here, which I should imagine will be a fair few, there's still a few tickets available.
There's very few tickets available, available from firstdirectarena.com.
Barry's got 63 left.
At firstdirectarena.com for the last few remaining tickets. Just want to say thank you to our sponsors, Foot Asylum and 32 Red, for their continued support. And also, if you can't make it down to the arena, or if you miss out on the tickets, you can watch it live and exclusive on BT Sport.
One-on-one interviews coming up, and of course the face-to-face photographs for the photographers for the newspapers and elsewhere. But before then, floor's yours. Any questions for anybody who's here? Don't be shy.
Is this kid a journalist or just a fan, John? Because I don't need to answer stupid questions off this kid here, do I? Right, what's the serious question? Go on then. Go on. Sorry? I said, right, okay. Well, you know what? You know what? You've got me. You've got me. Maybe I'm already making me excuses. Well, that'd be getting game away, wouldn't it? Understand? But what does it matter? It doesn't matter. The difference is when you've been in the gym and you've had somebody training in your gym. Lee Selby trained in our gym before he boxed, Josh, and you could see he wasn't where he should be, and he was 80%, and you could see in the fight he was 80%. What I actually said, if you listen carefully, I said Barry's 90% plus. So nobody's ever going to be 100%. No fighter ever is. They're only 100% when they win the fight and they tell everybody. That's what it is. So he's 90%. So, I'm not going to say he's 100% because nobody ever is. Yeah? Hopefully that answers your question.
Any more? Any more for any more?
Don't all rush.
No?
One at a time.
Okay. Well, it's going to be, as Francis said, it's going to be live on BT Sport on Saturday night. It's going to be a great night of boxing for all people who follow the sport, and I'm sure another fabulous Leeds occasion. We'll have the one-on-one interviews, press photographs coming up, and you'll have the opportunity for everything you want from the guys here. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks.
Cheers. Where are we? Hang on, I've got to get my sponsor in. It's got me a grand off the Can you just get that at the bottom? It's got me a few quid off my camper. There we go.
Fucking have it.